SAM.gov is like a Shark Tank, and GSA contracts are like a nice warm jacuzzi. Maybe that's a little hyperbolic, and I want to be honest, I don't want to overstate, but without streamlining your purchasing or acquisition channel with a vehicle like GSA or something else, you kind of are stuck with SAM.gov. Today I'm going to go over 7 reasons that you should explore vehicles like GSA or GWACs, and specifically if you're only in the SAM space right now. It is kind of a Shark Tank. You're competing against a very large pool of sharks, competitors. Whereas the Streamlined channels eliminate competition to such a level that it's, sometimes you're competing against, down to 20% of what you would have been competing against on SAM.gov. In addition, GSA opportunities are not even viewable if you are not in the GSA program. And that really makes it so that you want to research the GSA program, GWACs, BPAs specific to your particular industry, and make sure you're in the right ones, because you're putting a lot of effort into proposal writing and pursuit, and that effort might be wasted, honestly, if you're not in the right channels. And that effort can absolutely be maximized and just expanded. Your chance of success will go way, way up if you make sure you are in the right channels. So number 1 is you are approved once, and it's just reused for, in GSA's case, 2 decades. On SAM.gov, every opportunity that you're pursuing is a brand new fight. There's a new proposal, there's new compliance requirements, new evaluation, new solution, new deadline, all that stuff. But with a GSA schedule, that eliminates quite a bit of that. The terms are pre-negotiated, the discounts are pre-negotiated, and that really makes it so that agencies can buy from you over and over without starting at the beginning over and over. And that, what I just said, is basically called streamlined acquisition. So streamlined acquisition is what agency buyers really love to use. It makes it so that instead of going through the process from A to Z, they kind of start right in the middle and kind of go from M to Z. And it eliminates a lot of effort on their part. But you know what it also does? It eliminates a lot of risk as well. If anything goes sideways on the deal, they can point right at GSA and say, they're the ones that approved this vendor. I just went through their channel and trusted them. And eliminating that risk makes you way more appealing to the buying community. The second reason is really just sales cycles. If you've been in the government space for a long time, you probably know that you submit the proposal before the deadline, you wait months and months, and you don't hear anything back, even if you're checking in. And ultimately, if you win, you just get notified one day out of the blue, you're eating dinner and you check your email and there you go, you won a big award. That's great, but that long sales cycle causes a lot of anxiety and you're basically in the dark, right? You submit the proposal and then it goes into a black box and you don't know what's going to happen. In the GSA space, I'm not going to say that that goes away. That wouldn't be the truth, but GSA orders can get awarded much quicker because of that streamlined acquisition that I mentioned earlier. Pricing and terms and conditions, solutions, they're all pre-approved. So the selection process, therefore, is condensed on the timeline, which is really nice. Nice for the buying community, nice for you. SAM.gov is kind of like waiting in line at the airport, and GSA or a nice GWAC for your industry is going to be kind of like a TSA pre-check where you're just kind of zooming right in front of the line to the very beginning. Very, very different experience. So this shorter sales cycle, in the end, it ultimately leads to faster cash flow and less time just bleeding overhead waiting for those big opportunities that you submitted for to land. Number 3 is just that you're competing in a smaller arena. I talked about this earlier, but in the GSA world, GSA contracts, there are under 20,000 GSA contractors, somewhere around 15, I believe, right now. So in the SAM.gov world, millions. I mean, how many SAM registrations are there for vendors? I should have looked it up, but I know it's in the millions. It's probably in the tens of millions. So most businesses seem to be on SAM. So you're competing against a much smaller community if you're on GSA or in a GWAC. And really, you're only competing within that community, which means instead of submitting a proposal and competing against 20, 50, 100 vendors, you're competing against, probably a small fraction of that, 1/5 or even 1/10 of the SAM community is going to be what your competition looks like in GSA or a GWAC or a BPA situation. So fewer competition, fewer competitors really means that you enjoy a higher win rate. And that's always nice because writing proposals isn't something you're doing for fun. I'm sure you're doing it because you want to win business. So let's write your proposals and have your win rate go up so you're not wasting your time. All right, number 4. So in the SAM.gov world, you compete and there are multi-year contracts, of course, but in the GSA world, there are multi-year contracts also. And because it's streamlined, the multi-year contracts are much easier to flow into new years, and the recompetes are just less. So you don't start from zero again over and over and over, but there is more stabilization in your cash flow as a company, and your revenue just kind of finds a nice equilibrium inside of these vehicles rather than SAM.gov where you're going in at a high competition, and then if you win, it may be project based, and there are just less multi-year contracts. They are there, absolutely, but in the GSA space, winning a multi-year contract is much easier. And then if the recompete comes up, this is the big thing, that recompete is only against that small community again, unless they decide to go outside of GSA, which the current administration is pushing hard into GSA. So that is number 4. Transitioning over to number 5 is just that when you get into the right vehicle, everything just kind of gets a little bit easier. And we live in a chaotic world. So business just is hard. It has a lot of friction. Winning new business is hard. You have to do a lot to get it. So any way that you can eliminate some of the friction and smooth things out is very worthwhile. And when you're jumping into a vehicle like GSA, which is a 20-year contract, your company is built for just repeat buying, higher win rate, pursuing within a channel of low competition, all that good stuff. And that's basically the easy button. So the other side of this easy button really is just summarized in one word: trust. Going through this process to get into a vehicle involves some sort of vetting. It also involves oftentimes negotiating pricing, you pre-agreeing to terms, conditions, and all of that puts you into a streamlined acquisition category as a result. So that is going to eliminate a lot of the friction on the buying side. It also gives you trust among the buying community because the GSA reviewer looked into your company at a pretty deep level. And in the end, what did they do? They pulled out a big rubber stamp and they stamped you as approved. And that means a lot to buyers who are very risk averse. They're spending taxpayer dollars. They don't want to misspend. They don't want to get in trouble. They want to do their job well. This helps them do that. They're always fighting against also just overwhelm. They have a lot of open projects, open purchases, and any streamlined acquisition opportunity, they love to go that route just because it keeps them relatively risk-free and allows them to do their job at a higher level, making good purchasing decisions and making more of them so that they can keep the agencies that they work for, well-stocked, well-serviced, all that good stuff. Another thing too, and this is kind of a trend these days, is just that on SAM.gov, there's a lot of contracts that are being released and then just getting canceled, dropped before they're even awarded. That happens. It's been happening forever, right? But within the GSA space, that is happening as well. But there's a lot less noise inside of GSA. Inside of SAM.gov, basically just a big public bulletin board, right? Anybody and everybody can see it and bid on it. In fact, that has created a whole new thing with middlemen or Minutemen contractors that are just kind of sneaking in there without any past performance and winning contracts. So GSA eBuy is a system. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. You can't actually log in and see the opportunities in there like you can SAM, but once you get into GSA and you're approved, you access eBuy. And eBuy is actually also used for a lot of the GSA GWACs, like Oasis and whatnot as well. So it's a very popular system. And once you're in there, you get to have those opportunities that are actually sent to you. They're RFQs, RFIs, RFPs, and buyers are usually already funded and they're ready to go. They drop them into GSA and they just know. And I mean, the intent to purchase is already there. At the end of the day, it's just a better signal which means better use of your sales effort. You have a better signal that they are more serious buyers and they're dropping them into GSA. Your sales, basically your win rate is going to be much higher. Now we are here to the seventh and final reason that I wanted to talk about here. And it's really just that you can use contracting vehicles to reduce administrative drag as you scale your company. And we're all trying to grow our business, right? If you're not growing, you're dying, you're shrinking. So you have to continuously scale. Otherwise, where are you going with this, right? So on SAM.gov, every bid, you have to kind of rebuild your pricing, rebuild your solution, new compliance narratives, all the documentation. You have to even figure out what font and what size they want it in, all that fun stuff. But with GSA, you actually pre-negotiate your discounting, your terms, your pre-vetted, all that good stuff. So all federal agencies, as they go into GSA to, find the best solution or the best products, for their customers, are actually, they're going to GSA because it just makes it easy for them. They go to SAM.gov, they are rewriting the same book over and over and over. Maybe it's a different book, but they're starting at the beginning every time. GSA, in a way, is kind of like being able to reprint copies for them. So just makes it a lot easier, and that administrative drag as a result is just less. This gives you more time for selling. It means that when you do draft a proposal, the chance of winning is dramatically higher. And that is really what grows companies. It's all in the numbers, right? So here's an exercise. Take your sales last year and, basically look at that. Look at the number of proposals that you wrote and how many you won. That's going to give you a ratio or a number between, a percentage between 1 and 100. Just take the number of proposals up just 10%. and see what your revenue would have been if you bumped it up 10%. So those are the dials that a contracting vehicle can be for you, where you just turn them, you get into the program and you are turning the dial up a percentage as a result. And that's where, in business, it's so hard to scale and grow, especially at a reasonable rate, 10% a year, 15% a year. You have to really fight for every percentage point there. I know, I've been doing this for 20 years. So when you find a way that you can turn a dial up 5%, 10%, that is massive. And you got to do that when you see it. So that about wraps it up. Those are the 7. Bottom line, like I said before, SAM.gov is like a Shark Tank, whereas GSA is like a nice warm jacuzzi. Maybe that's extreme. It probably is, but I like to say it. It kind of gives you the picture of SAM.gov, how competitive it is. And once you find the sweet spot of a nice contract vehicle, it is just like climbing into a nice warm jacuzzi. When you write proposals, you don't have this level of futility of, well, there's a 1 in 10 chance, 1 in 20 chance I'm going to win this, but I got to do it anyways. With GSA, that number, just your win rate goes up. It feels good. Really just, without finding those streamlined acquisition channels, it's an uphill battle. And I think that is the major theme of these 7 here today. So hopefully this helps. Remember to subscribe down below. There's a little button that says subscribe. Hit it and you'll continue to get videos like this. Thanks for watching.